simple things.
And welcome to the Corner Cafe. I am Rachel Maines. Before we get started, I just want to say that we are sponsored by Influencers TV and Crawford Media Group. And I have a friend here. He's been such a blessing at the station. He's done a lot of public affairs with Liz, friend Zell, and his life story is just really fascinating. So Andy Peth, thanks for coming on the Corner Cafe.
Thank you.
And
glad to be here.
I'm so happy that you like your tea that I prepared for you.
I do like my tea.
I'm doing good as a barista at the Corner Cafe. I got a drink you like.
I'm just so happy that you let me wear my Packer shirt. You know, and I should have dressed up a little, had a Packer tuxedo. You know, I could have done that.
There you go.
Maybe next time.
Yeah, next time I'm expecting that. You know, but Jamie,
yeah.
He's a big, I think it's 49ers.
Oh.
Yeah, so he would, I think it's 49ers. If I got that wrong, I'm so sorry, Jamie.
Well, he did better than us. He beat us.
Yeah.
I took it personally.
Yeah.
Tell Jamie I took it personally.
If I got the team right, who knows? But so Andy, so I am the operations manager for KLTT, and I've had the blessing of being able to record you and Liz, and I got to learn about your life story. And so the big question is, you were an atheist and your family were atheists. And so you had a journey of the Lord, quite unique journey of the Lord showing you, hey, you know, actually I created everything.
Yeah, he did. Okay, well, shall I just jump right in?
Yes, let's jump right in.
Okay, long story short, my family is left-wing atheist academia.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's rough.
Sorry to mention the wing, but they're very proud of that.
Yeah.
Okay, and so I grew up obviously a hardcore evolutionist. I grew up an atheist. We actually attended a church because my dad was my principal, my middle school principal.
Wow.
Yes, so we had to put on
no
a
pressure at school or anything if the dad's the principal. Wow.
Yes, I actually got, and I mentioned this to Liz, I got, he had to throw me out for 3 days once.
Oh, no.
Yes, I threw a knife. It was in cooking class. I was dared by a friend that if I could stick it in the door, and I actually did.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, at least you got the dare right. But...
It was a cooking knife, and that was really dumb, and I was not very bright. But anyway, getting to being less not bright, I was very much, like I said, an atheist, and I could, debate people pretty well on that kind of stuff. No offense, I found Christians to be rather easy pickings for the most part. Mm. And then I started to really question my own beliefs.
Yeah.
And this is something I didn't mention to Liz, but I'm going to mention it to you. I realized something. You cannot pursue truth and comfort at the same time. You can find them together.
Yeah.
Peace of Christ, right? Or let's say that you think your boss doesn't like you. That you spoke up too much at a meeting 2 weeks ago, and now you think your boss is mad at you. And then you find out, your boss isn't mad at all. In fact, he or she thought you did a great job speaking up. I'm really glad you did. Okay, that truth brings you great comfort at the same time. Yeah. But you didn't pursue them at the same time.
Yeah.
You cannot pursue, and this is actually getting to why I change. You cannot truly pursue truth unless you say whatever the cost, no matter what it costs, no matter what loss of comfort in my life, I must know the truth. You cannot. And likewise, you cannot totally give yourself over to pursuing comfort unless you say, I don't care what's right or wrong. I only want what makes me feel good, period. End of story.
Right.
Okay? And I started to realize something. I wanted to know the truth. And I was having some serious, I was having some real scientific problems with atheism, with evolution. Yeah. And even though I could offer a lot of the arguments, I was looking at my arguments and I was thinking, this is ludicrous. This doesn't hold up. That doesn't hold up. This doesn't hold up. Why does that not hold up? Right. And I was starting to have severe problems. And so I decided I have to know the truth, but how do I know the truth? Yeah. And I lost a lot of friends because I started getting in, and I got preachy on other things. Just be nice to people, that kind of stuff, Yeah. Teenagers don't want to hear that. Don't ever tell your friends.
They don't like to be bossed around by anybody.
They don't want to be, don't mess. I told you, I wasn't bright, okay? Yeah. And so but I realized my beliefs were falling apart. And then it was just like, but how do I find out? I realized I can only find out if I absolutely give up comfort. And the reason I said that was this. I believe that people are basically selfish, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean is this, and I said this to Liz, if you drive up to a stoplight, okay, and you're late, you're 15 minutes late for a meeting,
Mm-hmm.
okay, which I was here, by the way, today. Thank you for waiting. If you want to find
I came on the wrong time.
if you want to find Wendy's,
Is that
there's a
helpful?
trail of French fries leading over here from there. I really had to run. And okay, so you're 15.
Thank you for sacrificing your French fries for the
Hey.
show. Yeah.
You know, maybe it'll help me. My diet starts next week, so I like to plan out my torture.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
you don't just want to throw yourself in the torture.
Exactly. Yeah. you
Okay.
gotta prep for that.
Well, yeah, I'm mentally prepped. And so let's say you're 15 minutes late for a meeting and you're coming up to a stoplight and it's the longest light in the city and it
Right.
turns yellow way too early.
Right.
And you come up and you just can't get through. So you're stuck there at the light, okay?
Yeah.
And while you're stuck there, in front of you, people are going left and right, merrily going on their way and everything's fine. Are you happy for them?
No.
Why not? Because you're thinking
Because
of
I'm
you.
late.
Yes, you're thinking of you. Right. All of us, our first thought is about ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay. And even if we, I don't have time to go into it in depth, but you could say, well, okay, well, what about the good things we do? Mother Teresa, Gandhi.
Mhm.
What about every good thing we do? If we don't do it, we will judge ourselves and be upset at ourselves for not doing it or for doing less. Or
Right. So we're doing it for a selfish reason anyways.
Right.
The root of it.
There's
Yeah.
a selfish motive in everything we do.
Yeah.
It's called self-definition. We're defining ourselves with our deeds, which,
Right.
by the way, started in the Garden of Eden when we ate from the tree
Right.
of knowledge of good and evil.
Knowledge of good and evil. I will know good and evil.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Well, why did we eat from the tree? This is a
To
little.
be as God.
Right. The
Yeah.
reason we wanted to decide for ourselves what is good and evil.
Right.
Anyone who decides what is good and evil in a situation is the boss of that situation.
We wanted to be the boss, essentially.
We wanted to be the boss.
Yeah.
Okay, we wanted to define good and evil, and ever since we did that, now we
Yeah.
define us with
Good and evil.
with our deeds,
Yeah.
which gives us a selfish reason, even for the best things we do. That's why the Bible
Yeah.
says all our righteous acts are as filthy rags
Right.
before Him. Okay, because of this, I realized I'm selfish, and I want
You
comfort.
were a deep thinker as a kid.
Oh yeah, I was.
Wow.
And my whole family was.
Yeah.
It's very intellectual family.
Yeah,
They're weird.
that's
They're
great.
Vulcans. Yes. And so what it really came down to, Rachel, was I realized if a belief system looked like it was written by man, then it would cater to man's selfish needs.
Right.
And so I started looking through a bunch of them. I won't bore you with that. Bottom line, Christianity was the only one that went exactly the opposite
Right.
direction. It doesn't give us a self-improvement course.
Right.
It gives us a savior.
Right. And that's the thing. If people really research all the other religions in the world, it all leads to selfish motives because it's
Absolutely.
I know good and evil. I'm going to feel good about these actions, or here's the list of rules that I can
Well,
adhere to.
how about reincarnation? I said
Yeah.
this before. Eternal second chances.
Right.
Eternally, wouldn't a person? Every kid who has gotten in trouble
Yeah.
wants a religion that is eternal second chances.
And then plus you get better as you go, right? So it's like if you're born like a princess or a prince, it's like, wow, I'm just been really good in my past life. So it's all pride,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So every religion also is based on pride as well. But let's get to the point of evolution. So obviously you're starting to seek out these other religions. You realize, okay, philosophically, Christianity is the only religion that makes sense because it's not based on selfish motives. It's
Right.
more saying, everyone's a sinner. No one's righteous, no, not one.
Right.
It's only through Christ. So philosophically, you understood that, but
I did.
explain some of the maybe tangibles of evolution that we're not lining up.
Okay, two things. First, let's hit selfishness, and then we'll hit progressive creativity. Deal?
Okay,
All
deal.
right. On selfishness, and both of these come from Genesis 1, which to me is an incredible chapter, and it all happened.
Yeah.
Okay, I believe it's actually real,
Yeah.
scientifically.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Here you have a spiritual God creating a physical universe that he has no use for, or for which he has no use. Sorry, proper English. And so he did it completely selflessly.
Right.
Okay. He is absolutely unselfish, and I knew that we were absolutely selfish.
Right.
So we were absolutely separated from him.
Right.
So who would design a God if they were making one up? Who
Yeah.
was absolutely unselfish? They would make a petty one like us,
Yeah.
like Thor or what, what I mean? And, or like Wicca. And so I took a look at this and I was just like, wait a minute. While we are not unselfish, we hold unselfishness as the greatest thing possible. And
Right.
only people value unselfishness above all things.
Right.
Imagine for a moment that you have a college roommate. We'll call her, I don't know, Brittany. And you and Brittany decide you want to get a dog. Okay? Just because it's fun to have a dog.
Mm-hmm.
All right? And so you get this little dog.
It's a really tiny dog.
It's a real tiny, real tiny dog. And you get these doggy treats. Now, the treats are this big, so the dog does struggle with them.
Yeah.
Okay. No, you get these treats. The dog loves the treats.
Yeah.
Okay? And you give the dog treats. And Brittany gives the dog treats.
Mm-hmm.
And the dog is happy to get the treats. Okay? But you give the dog treats because you just like the dog and you want the dog to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
Brittany gives the dog treats because Brittany wants approval. She wants affirmation. She wants the dog to come to her and like her. She has a selfish motive for giving the treats. You have an unselfish motive for doing the treats. Here's my question. Does the dog care?
No, we're just happy to get the treats.
Right. Animals, all throughout the animal kingdom, there is no evidence that they care about the motive of unselfishness versus selfishness. Only mankind does.
Yeah.
And why would it be? We come from a creator who is purely unselfish while we are selfish. We are reaching out to that which we can't have.
Right.
And we have to be saved because we can't build our way to it. Okay, progressive creativity. Let's stay in Genesis 1. Do we have time?
Yes, we do.
Okay, progressive creativity. Defined is the desire and ability of a species to progress with its use of creativity from generation to generation. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
See what I mean? Well, only one species has progressive creativity, and that's ours.
Right.
Beavers, now, they have creativity. Beavers create dams. Ants create anthills.
Right.
There are many examples of creativity throughout the animal kingdom, but these are all to adapt and survive.
Right.
And none of them, beavers are not making bigger, better dams than they did. They're making the same dams they did thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
They have neither the desire or the ability to progress from generation to generation and improve on their craft.
Right.
Okay, we can't help it.
Right.
We must. We're making space shuttles. We're making, we are totally different. We progress with our use of creativity. Now, as an atheist, I was looking at this saying, where did this come from?
Right, because you're thinking, atheist, you're thinking, we are just an animal.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's think of,
Why
maybe
do
it's
we-
just an animal. Where did this special thing come from that's different than the rest of the animals?
That makes us totally dominant on the planet.
Right.
Right. And my first answer, of course, was, well, higher intelligence. We have much higher intellect, and with that came progressive creativity. Not just creativity, progressive creativity.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there's a huge problem with that. Okay, if you look up through the levels of intelligence in the animal kingdom, right? You start with, I don't know, plants actually, snails and whatever, and you move up, to.
What is the smartest animal? I don't even know.
We are.
I mean, if we're not, we're humans.
After us, chimpanzees. They really are.
Okay.
Dolphins are very high, and there are several others. Lawyers are very low. Very low, just so you know.
Hopefully no lawyers are watching.
They're all midway. They're midway in there. No, actually, I have a fantastic lawyer, so
I know some great lawyers.
But he likes being picked on. Okay, but anyway, here's the thing: if progressive creativity came with increased intelligence, that would mean as you move up through the animal kingdom, all the way from larvae to us, you would see somewhere along the line an increase in what? Progressive creativity.
Through the different species.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, but instead, so you see more with intelligence all the way up to us.
Mm-hmm.
But with progressive creativity, you see this. None, millions of species, all us.
Right.
We fit nowhere. It didn't come from intelligence. Now, the question is, of course, where did it come from? I don't have time to go into the other religions, but none of them explain it. It's terrible with the Eastern religions and with Zen Buddhism and Hinduism and all these, because we are all one. We are all from the same life force, if you will.
Right.
Yeah, and it doesn't work at all with basically with any faith. It certainly doesn't work with atheism terribly. And,
Right.
and yet, they're right there in Genesis 1. What do you see?
Right.
God creating progressively. And then he made this on day 1, and it was good. He made this on day 2, and it was good. He made this on, notice, he's not adapting to survive.
Right.
He's doing it out of his pleasure and progressively adding more and more and more and more. And he doesn't need any of it.
Right.
He doesn't need any of it.
Right.
Which, by the way, I look at a lot of our inventions. We don't need them either. We really come up with the hula hoop.
Well,
Sorry.
it's kind of fun. I don't know.
No, I'm sorry. I'm vetoing the
I'm sure there's a mention I can veto too.
No. I'm vetoing it because I'm bad at it. Okay. It's a bitterness.
That selfishness again.
This is, I think the best theology is bitterness theology. Okay. So anyway.
Hey, well, I'm going to stop you right there. So we're going to go to break real quick.
Let's go to break.
We're going to go to break, but once again, talking to Andy Peth, and he is a personality, if I could say that, on the Rush to Reason show.
Yes.
And so just a blessing to have him here at the Corner Cafe, and we are going to go to a quick break, and we will be right back.
This is Carter Conlon. In Western society, we often fall into the misconception that trouble indicates God's absence. We wrongly assume that God's presence eliminates trouble due to our peaceful seasons. However, this isn't biblically accurate. In fact, the presence of God might bring more trouble into your life than you've ever had before. But this trouble isn't related now to addiction or sinful activity. When we become true followers of Jesus, we probably will face hatred and opposition just as Christ did. Many self-proclaimed Christians are now experiencing those difficulties that have come with their faith. You and I must choose today to walk in the footsteps of Christ. We may face opposition, but we must persevere. We must stand firm in our beliefs and continue to spread God's love and message to this world. Let's now be unwavering in our beliefs and continue to allow God to be glorified in and through us in these last days. It's time to pray.
Here's Steve Russo with Real Answers.
Influencer is a popular buzzword. It usually refers to someone who's built a loyal following on social media and content creation. To influence is to have an effect on someone. What kind of influencer are you? Who are you influencing and what are you hoping to achieve? Everyone's an influencer. Even if you don't have a huge following on social media, you're still having an effect on others. But is it self-promotion or something greater than yourself? If we claim to follow Jesus, then we should be influencing others for the kingdom of God. Matthew, an early follower of Jesus, gives us specific instructions about the kind of influencer we should be. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven.
For information on books and other resources by Steve Russo, visit the Real Answers website, realanswers.com.
And welcome back to the Corner Cafe, and I have Andy Peth on the Corner Cafe. And hey, just want to say real quick, go to cornercaferadio.com for the radio listeners, and you can watch the video and see our smiling faces. And I also want to give a compliment to Jamie Daniel, who's not here, but hey, Jamie, Andy likes your hair. I think he even likes it better than my hair. So, hey Jamie, I know you'll like that.
Your hair is very impressive, but his is awesome. And yes, Jamie, I'm going to get the wig.
Yes.
I think it would work for me.
I think you'd be a good Jamie Daniel lookalike.
I think
you could
so.
fill in for him. And,
you can't tell us apart. I mean, we'd be mistaken at parties. Exactly. It would just be his parents would welcome me in.
Exactly.
That could get bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, we have Jamie stand in the future, but you were making some really good points. I'm going to have you continue.
Okay, really quick, just wrapping up. In Genesis 1, it tells us exactly where progressive creativity comes from. Mm-hmm. As I explained, God is progressively creating, not adapting to his surroundings, doing it surely for pleasure. Okay? Mm-hmm. And then he says, let us make man in our own image. In the image of God, he created them, male and female, he created them. So he made us like him. Mm-hmm. And when he says, let us, there's a reason that it's plural and so forth. I don't have time to go into it.
Or more.
Well, the Trinity works. There are even better reasons.
Okay. Oh, let's have another show.
They're totally fine. They're all good. They're all good. But then he turns around and gives us dominion. And that is because progressive creativity suddenly makes us able to change and manipulate the environment and everything around us, for good or bad. We also make bombs. We make sewage. We make lots of bad things. We make the Chicago Bears. We I'm picking on Chicago. One of my best friends is a Chicago Bear fan. I have to do it. Okay, so moving on. Did you want to talk a little about the fossil records?
Yeah, so I can start off
switch.
with that just because one of the big things, because I went to see Boulder, and so
I'm
I
sorry,
had to,
you okay?
I really enjoyed my
We
experience.
do crisis counseling.
Right, I made it through. I mean, people were worried. I think that as a Christian going in there, I'd come out not a Christian, but thankfully I just had the Lord, and He would speak to me. I believe in class and stuff and show me, and I was just kind of already studied up before I went. But long story short, with the evolutionary courses I had to take, which always kind of frustrated me, but
Right.
I saw that there was adaptation with the species, obviously, that God put in our gene pool the ability to adapt, because we'd have to as a species.
It's called microevolution, adaptivity
micro.
of species.
Right. But
By the way, only a moronic God would make species unable to adapt to a changing environment. So
Right.
first of all the little changes you see in species, those work perfectly well with both theories, both with evolution and with creation.
Right.
Okay, so the small changes. Now, the idea, of course, being with an atheist, well, yeah, but you just heap these changes up over billions of years, and you have new species.
Right.
There are huge problems with that. Okay, but anyway, go ahead.
No, exactly. I kind of liken it to if say some aliens came to the world and they saw a computer, and it's like thinking that the computer just over billions of years made itself.
Right.
And so it's like the human genome is like a computer code. You can kind of liken it to that. I mean, and they're learning that right now, that it's very, very complex.
The human genome makes a computer code look like a block of stone.
Right.
Okay.
And so you say
God spoke. We talk about everything He spoke into existence, folks. He spoke DNA into existence. And by the way, DNA couldn't have self-formed. And anyone who knows the first two laws of thermodynamics know, and you know them, of course, conservation of matter and entropy. And when you put those two things together, it means that all the matter we have right now, we had this much to start with. It hasn't gone up or down. And we have less and less energy to work with that matter and less order in that matter. We're not going up, we're going down. Evolution is a totally uphill climb.
Right, and everything that we see in nature decays. It gets worse. It doesn't get better.
This is why Darwinianism, which is gradualism, kind of gave way to punctuated equilibrium, which is leaping forward in leaps and bounds with mutations, which, by the way, makes great movies with X-Men. I'm going to give it that. I love some I'm an X-Men fan. Okay?
I like X-Men too.
Okay, yeah. I need help. But anyway, as an atheist looking at this, I knew how to put the arguments and to make, and to defend all this, but inwardly I was having some serious problems. It was like, now wait a minute. We can line all these things up, from ape and then a little more and a little more and a little more to man, which, by the way, a lot of that is made up. But here's the big problem. When we look in the fossil record, we're finding fully created species, fully created things. When you think of transitional forms, everybody thinks, well, that's ape man, that's bird lizard, that's whatever. No. Transitional forms are transitional forms of a species. Right. Partial arms, partial legs, partial wings. Now think for a moment.
Yeah.
Let's say that the fossil record is really hundreds of millions of years. Okay.
Right.
Over that time, if species were really going from one to the next to the next to the next, you would see all the partialness along the way. Right. You would see partial wings. By the way, the idea of a feather coming from scales, embarrassing. Don't have time to explain it. Embarrassing.
Just Google it, people. Google it.
It is unbelievably embarrassing.
Yeah. Can you Google it and find that out?
Well, bottom line, a feather contains air. Scale. The only way it can become like a feather is to fray it, which means it'll contain air less. It becomes disadvantageous and would therefore be selected out with natural selection.
Right, so it never have been anyways.
Right, okay, so anyway, but when you look in the fossil record, you should see virtually everything up until today being packed full of transitional forms, of partial arms, partial hip sockets, partial everything, okay? Right. Partial wings, partial this. None of it, okay? And I'm looking at this thinking, guys, it's not just that you should be, and you can find a mutated something or other here and there. Very rare. They find Lucy, which by the way was actually at a lower point than fully formed human remains, but it was actually deeper. Human remains were actually deeper than Lucy. But guys, you would find millions and millions of these partially developed forms, and you find none of them. Why? What? Did somebody take an eraser? I mean, it's ridiculous.
Right.
It's all fully formed.
Right. And then just the notion of adding more years to the equation.
Worthless.
It's like if we sat for billions of years, something magical will happen with no point whatsoever.
Yeah, how does millions of years go between our lungs, which are a bellows system, air in one way, air out the other, and avian lungs, which where the air flows, a flow-through system. Any intermediate between those two doesn't function and kills the species. Any closing off of theirs kills it. Any opening up of ours kills it.
Right.
How do you get those from the same thing? By the way, why do we have two genders? You may have noticed we're two genders.
Yeah.
That's a very inefficient way to procreate a species. First of all, you got to date. Let me tell you as a guy, that's hard. Okay? All right? I really, when I was young, in my 20s, I was very envious of single-celled creatures. They had it going on. We are inefficient.
Yeah.
And you got to come up with the money. All right? This is,
that's hilarious.
Let me just tell you, it's wildly inefficient.
Right.
Evolution is not in the record. What's in the record, you can line up things and say, well, they have all these similarities. Well, of course they have these similarities.
Right.
Rachel, for crying out loud, they're designed to be in the same ecosystem.
Right.
Same water, same air, same land, same,
Right.
What kind of idiotic God would design them to function in totally different ecosystems? This one works on Mars, that one works on Venus. Wait a minute, men and women. Okay,
Right.
so,
exactly.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. It started to not make sense, and then I started looking at progressive creativity, how we value unselfishness, and many other things which I could bore you with.
Yeah, well, no, it's not boring. It's very interesting, and I think it needs to be talked about more in the church. Are there any resources that are listeners now that you can point them towards if they're trying to study this?
Gosh, my favorites are probably Ken Ham and the Creation Research Institute.
Okay.
I think they've done a lot of great work.
Okay. And then also, how can our listeners reach out to you or tune in to you on the Rush to Reason show?
Okay, well, let's see. I do politics on Tuesday. Rush to Reason is KLZ 560, and that is John Rush, great guy who hosts it.
Yes, he is.
I co-host on Tuesdays for 3 hours from 3 to 6. And on Friday, I do movie reviews, and I'm also hosting. John's out of town this Friday, so I'll be doing those on my own. And then we do a movie topic and just say, what are your favorite, guy stars, girl stars, whatever topic, and then people call in.
Oh, well,
dumb stuff.
Well, no, it's fun. It's fun. So definitely tune in. And thank you for coming on the Corner Cafe. We'll have Andy back. I love talking about this subject, and it's not talked about enough. So definitely reach out to him and do studying and realize that in the Bible, it's all there, and there's so many things that we could just spend a lifetime studying the Bible and learning so much more, even scientifically. Maybe that's our next topic for the next show, is learning or seeing how the Bible was scientifically ahead of the times, and now it's catching up. We'll talk about that next time.
It was magnificent.
Yes. All right. Well, thanks for tuning into the Corner Cafe. We're going to see you at the cafe next week.
This is forever.